think I know that.
We all know that.
Gentlemen! I know you're all worried, and I agree. There's plenty to be worried about, like this solar power plant, already operational outside Los Angeles. Photovoltaic cells. They convert sunlight directly into electricity. Fluorescent. Lasts 10 times as long as a conventional light bulb. Uses only a quarter of the power. Super windows. Insulate as well as 10 sheets of glass. An electric car. Partially powered by solar panels. But the truth is, gentlemen, I'm not worried about any of these things. Because no one's ever going to know about them.
Hello and welcome to episode 272 of the Clean Energy Show. I'm Brian Stockton.
I'm James Whittingham. This week, a popular meme shows underwater river turbines as a new type of power generation in Norway. Everyone jumped on board enthusiastically, but it's not true. Just like the meme I spread of Brian starting his own chocolate factory deep in the woods.
The United Nations highest court has declared that a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment is a human right. I'm still waiting for them to hear my case. I want them to declare that all coffee shops must have comfortable chairs. That should be a human right. Am I right?
You're not wrong. All that and more in this edition of the Clean Energy Show. Brian, we have a couple of mini shows here deep in the summer.
Yeah.
To accommodate vacations. So this one's going to be shorter. Next week's going to be shorter than a repeat episode. And we'll be back sometime around August 19, 20, somewhere around there, depending on how you listen to the show on Patreon or publicly. We'll be back and hope everyone has a good time, especially those in the Northern Hemisphere experiencing summer. But I don't have any sympathy for those experiencing winter in the, Oceania, because it's not what we do. It's not. You don't know what winter is. You think you know what
to hell with those people.
Yeah, the hell with you all. You upside down, warm people. You don't know what cold is?
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope you enjoy your vacation. I know you're going to take a little bit of a trip, but we're going to start with Brian's Movie Corner.
Brian's Movie Corner.
All right. So did you know that there's a new Naked Gun movie coming out very soon?
I just recently started to hear about it. I've been hearing about it on my comedy podcasts. And yeah, I was kind of surprised. I mean,
I really like those kinds of movies. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be directed by Akiva Schaffer, who's there's not a lot of real comedy directors in Hollywood, but he did Hot Rod, the cult classic Hot Rod with Andy Samberg. And he's part of the Lonely Island comedy troupe with Andy Samberg.
That's where I heard him talk about it, was the Lonely Island podcast with Seth Meyers as well.
Yeah. So I have high hopes because I think those guys are very funny. And so this new remake is in the hands of somebody who's an actual comedy director. Liam Neeson is going to be the star. The point being that he's going to play against type, which is what they did with those old comedy movies. The initial one was Airplane, where they hired all these serious actors to do comedy, one of them being Leslie Nielsen, who seemed to really embrace that and went on to the Naked Gun movies and so forth. So in anticipation of the new one coming out, which, by the way, is August 1st, and I'm hopefully going to go see that in the theater, I started watching the old ones. The old ones are on Netflix here in Canada. So I watched Naked Gun 2.5, which is the second one. And it's from 1991. And I was very surprised to find it had a very heavy environmental plot to it. Like, this is really the basis. It's another one of these movies where the bad guys are environmental terrorists. They're people who want to keep the fossil fuel industry alive. And so we played a clip off the top there. That was Robert Goulet, who's the main bad guy. And there's, in the movie, the president at the time is going to announce these new clean energy measures. So Robert Goulet, the bad guy, is going to slip in a fake scientist to pretend to be the real scientist, and they can denounce all these plans and keep burning fossil fuels. That's the plot of the movie.
So I was shocked. I thought that was from the new movie, but that's from the old movie, the sequel in 91.
Yeah.
Wow.
1991, yeah. And I think it's important to note that they talk a lot about oil spills. So the Exxon Valdez disaster was in 1989, and that's when a big oil tanker went aground in Alaska, and it was a very large environmental disaster that would have been fresh in people's minds when they were making this movie. But overall, this, of course, is before we really started talking about climate change. So really, it's just about pollution. And I thought, oh, man, I miss those days when everybody just talked about pollution. Like everyone was just worried about the air being clean enough to breathe. And then suddenly when the conversation changed to climate change, it suddenly became a murkier issue that was sort of more, that was easier to talk against because you can just say, oh, climate change isn't real. But yeah, back in those days or when we grew up in the 70s, the conversation was all about cleaner air because, the air was super bad and everybody knew, okay, well, this is bad. We don't want to be breathing all of these toxic fumes. And this is the environment under which, solar power and everything got developed and the environment under which this movie was made in 1991.
Well, you and I would have been cognizant of solar panels and solar power and EVs. We would have been, for me, it was years and years before that I was waiting for them and knew that they were the future. I think a lot of our listeners would share that sort of upbringing, even if they are as old as us, which is, growing up in the 70s and early 80s. So I'm just surprised, I did think that global warming started to become an issue, but certainly it felt like a far off issue. Even 10 years ago, it had the luxury of, well, it's not really happening yet, but it's going to happen. It's going to be terrible. And then suddenly I can't open a pool in the summer because it's smoky every day.
It just feels like that tipping point has really happened in the last 10 years or so. And then a few months ago, like we had that clip from Saturday Night Live, which was a Mike Myers sketch. And I think that one was from 96, if I remember correctly, 95 or 96.
Something like that.
And that one did say climate change rather than, it wasn't just about pollution. But yeah, this movie, Naked Gun 2.5, it's all about pollution and oil spills and stuff like that. So we got another clip here. This is Leslie Nielsen at the sort of climax of the movie where he's solved the problem and he's defeated the bad guys.
So this is Naked Gun 2.5 from 1991.
I want you to head up a new Federal Bureau of Police Squad.
That's a great honor, Frank.
It's what you always wanted. Congratulations.
Nice going, Frank.
Get in.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. I'm very honored. This is something I've always dreamed of, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to turn down your offer, Mr. President. You see, I've learned something this past week about the Earth and about love. I guess love is like the ozone layer. You never miss it until it's gone. Blowing away a fleeing suspect with my .44 Magnum used to be everything to me. I enjoyed it. Well, who wouldn't? But now, I want to be known as the Environmental Police Lieutenant.
Absurd! But here we are.
Very funny, yes.
We have to point out that O.J. Simpson was a character.
Yes.
And, not as the actor, O.J. Simpson was played.
He's in all three of the Naked Gun movies.
All three, okay.
Which is a little bit awkward. And they still kind of hold up, but they do tend to rely on jokes with racial stereotypes that don't really hold up anymore. Those are kind of unfortunate, but the silly, silly gags are still quite funny. And I do find these movies still funny.
Yeah. And Leslie Nielsen.
Yes, that Leslie Nielsen, the star of those movies, was born in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada, where James and I live and do the podcast.
And neither of us were born here, but the Clean Energy Show was born here in this small Canadian city that you're listening to us from today. So, yeah, not many people. I remember Letterman asked where he was born. He was on Letterman once during the Naked Gun runs, and he said Regina. And there's no one laughed or said anything. It's not pronounced Regina, by the way. It's Latin for Queen City, because of our monarchy affiliation here in Canada. I remember watching the movie about sort of, Animal House, the creator of Animal House. It's on Netflix. It's A Futile and Stupid Gesture from 2018. As a comedy nerd, I've watched that 3 times, I think.
Yeah.
I love that movie because it is the birth of the comedy of my youth, which was a rebellious comedy.
Yeah.
from Saturday Night Live in 1976 to those movies. Caddyshack was another movie that he wrote and was very successful. Ultimately, in TV reruns, it was very successful, cult classic. But then in that movie, I don't know if you've seen that movie with Will Forte, but he goes to see Airplane, one of these movies, which was a new kind of comedy.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, well, it's over. That's it. We're screwed. Our movie's about to come out. No one's going to want to see it. And that was Caddyshack, I think. And yeah, and he went into a depression over that and ultimately may have killed himself in Hawaii.
Okay, but that's not Will Forte. Will Forte is a current comedian.
But he's playing the character, the writer.
Oh, I see. That's a dramatic film.
Yes.
It's not a documentary. Okay.
It's a comedy film, but it's very funny. Yeah, I really like it, but I'm a comedy nerd. It's about Doug Kenny, who was the main contributor to National Lampoon in the 70s and 80s. And it was, yeah. And then, my kids would say, Dad, there's different comedy since then, and that's not funny. And, I mean, memes are funny to my kids. It's like, my main diet for my son is memes, and I don't get it. I mean, I literally don't get it. A lot of times I don't get them. But yeah, they're consuming that on a minute-by-minute basis instead of, every summer going to see the blockbuster comedy and, really appreciating it and loving it and talking about it, whether it's, mediocre or great.
Yeah. And if they were going to watch one of the old Naked Gun movies, they would probably watch it in 2-minute clips on YouTube.
Right. And I may have shown them my kid did like Airplane because I did show it to him in his teens. And so it still stands up, I guess, because it's just so ridiculous. But all the actors they used were very serious, classic TV and film actors. And Leslie Nielsen just turned into total camp guy who kept this fart machine with him all the time and a whoopee cushion. And he just did silly things on talk shows.
Well, and he just nailed it. Like watching these Naked Gun movies, like these are some of the greatest comedy performances of all time. Like he's so good.
Like they play them dead on, seriously, like they really believe what they're saying. And if you don't do that as a comedy, then it doesn't work as well. So that's great. I'm going to talk a little bit about my air quality project here at the Clean Energy Show. I just want to say that my air quality monitor did its job Sunday morning because the refinery, the wind shifted, the variable wind, which can come from any direction, from any moment, shifted, and it was terrible. It turned off my window fan as it was blowing cool night summer air in here because our nights are cool, our days sometimes are warm-ish. They're supposed to be warmer than they are, but, what are we going to do? And it was still stinky in here, though, and the VOCs were up to a moderate level, and I was still breathing the crap because it had to register that level before it turned it off. So now I'm thinking about putting one outside. I'm also thinking about buying a new air quality monitor to go in addition to this one. There is one that I'll talk about in the future that does VOCs, but it's not known. The one I got is like the standard, it's the Cadillac of air quality monitors. But it doesn't seem to, want to pick up any VOCs. It's just particulate matter. And the VOCs turn into particulate matter eventually, but not right away. And you're breathing these molecules that are neurotoxins and crap like that.
Yeah. So your outdoor one doesn't do VOCs, but your indoor one does.
My indoor one gives you an idea of them. But it also picks up, shampoo for my hair.
Right.
And, cooking and things like that. So I have to be careful with it. It'd be better if it was outside because the only VOC is outside. I mean, they retard the roof of the school that's 150 meters away. So that was stinky for a day or two, because I'm getting that from there. I mean, if my neighbor stained his deck or something, that would be an issue. But other than that, there's no VOCs that aren't from industry, really. Like there's not much in the wildfire smoke, apparently, that I can see. It's minor compared to the particulate matter.
Yeah, I guess if it's a fire within a city, you'd probably get more VOCs.
Yeah, but I've got a routine that shuts it off for forest fire smoke. It did that this morning.
Yep.
So I woke up, the fan was off, and the forest, because that changes on a dime too, just like the refinery. Yeah. Like we had very clean air, and then suddenly it's not. And you've just closed your windows for the summer. You've thrown at the towel and said, I'm not screwing with this. It's too much work to open and close all the windows all the time, and I can see that. So my son, how he doesn't have a car anymore. He got into the car share program in British Columbia.
Yep.
And where he lives in Surrey, he doesn't have access to the cars all over the place. So what you can do is get a car share from a central location and rent it all day. And he did that yesterday. He went to Lytton with his Evo car share, Why is Lytton, BC important? Let's go back 4 years, Brian, to the episode of the Clean Energy Show from exactly 4 years ago. The heat wave in the northwest of the United States and in British Columbia and Canada on the west coast. You know, before last week's show, a few days before last week's show, my son sent me a thing and he said, hey, look, this place in BC, Lytton, British Columbia, if their forecast holds for Wednesday, which was like 5 or 6 days later from when he sent me this, they will have set the record heat wave in Canada, the record high temperature in Canada, which was set a couple of hours south of us, which was 45 degrees. Yeah. That record stood for 77 years in Yellowgrass and Mydale, Saskatchewan. 77 years ago was 45 degrees, and we haven't really come that close to it. Well, they broke it by almost 5 degrees Celsius, which is, you know, almost twice that in Fahrenheit degrees. Like they blew it out of the water. They set the record one day, they broke the record the second day, and on the third day they broke it again, and it was 49.6 Celsius, which is something like 118 degrees Fahrenheit, and the town burned down the very day.
On the fourth day, the town burned down. 90% of the town up in flames after 3 days of record temperatures. It's just insane.
4 years later, it's still the same, 90% gone. They haven't rebuilt.
Yeah, I would be reluctant to rebuild if I was. And I mean, with nothing there, it's sort of like if a portion of it is gone, you could see rebuilding. But if 90% of it is gone, oh, man.
Then, you know, your stores, your support services, because it's kind of isolated. Beautiful place, inland in the mountains. But yeah, and that's a reminder to check out our back catalog if you're on the beach this summer in Australia, New Zealand in the winter. Yeah. Which you can go on the beach there in the winter. Can't hear. I mean, you could. You would die. But yeah, check out the back catalog. And Brian's Saskatoon, the other city in our province, logged 183 hours of smoke between March and July of this year, the highest total ever recorded by this point in wildfire season. The second smokiest season by this time of year was in 2023 with 164 hours, followed by 2024. Kind of makes you think the climate's warming, doesn't it? With all these recent heat waves.
Yeah, those are all in the last 3 years.
And I have to say, it's happening here as well. We're right behind that.
Yeah, Saskatoon is closer to the forests. So yeah, I think they're getting a bit more than us because we get these westerly winds. And so often by the time the smoke gets to us, the wind has blown it to a little bit to the west. So we're not getting quite as much as them, but obviously it's bad.
BC used to be the home of wildfires when I was a lad. It was BC mountains, British Columbia on the coast. I'm going there now. It's a multi-day drive in my EV. And by the way, you can follow that on our Patreon page. I'll be posting unedited video dispatches of how it's going if you're curious about what an EV road trip is like. But now my son says they've had no smoke out there. Yeah. I mean, he's pretty close to the coast. So if a breeze off the coast is obviously going to be clean, but I'm going to get a reprieve by going to where the smoke usually is. Wow. But that's crazy.
All right. So we have a report here from Global News. Climate change is an existential threat, says the UN's top court. Continuing to develop fossil fuels could now be a violation of international law. And we've had these kinds of rulings before, and we love to talk about these kinds of court proceedings. It isn't necessarily what you would call binding, but it does at least give some footing in future climate lawsuits. People will be able to point to this ruling, and it may in fact help them in further court cases. So if countries, and these are particularly the wealthy countries, continue to develop fossil fuel resources, they may have to start paying for it. Reparations to poorer countries that are the ones who've done very little often to contribute to climate change are the ones getting shafted by this. And yet the richer nations are continuing to develop fossil fuels. So we'll see what this actually means. But it is, if nothing else, a important symbolic ruling from the UN's top court.
Will they continue to develop fossil fuels? They seem to be.
Yeah.
Is this going to stop them? I mean, greed is a powerful thing.
Emissions are still going up. I mean, we talk about hitting peak oil, and it always seems to be just around the corner. But yeah, we'll see. It's an important symbolic ruling.
Well, I kept seeing this on social media. Norway, as a damless river turbine, could power entire communities without ever disturbing a single fish or stone. And there's a couple versions of this around. Some of them look like a sort of a horizontal turbine in the water that floats, and the other one looks like above ground turbines but underwater, which is an AI-generated thing. And I'm thinking, great, but there's a lot of people that come across that get retweeted in my feeds.
Yeah.
That will retweet stuff like this, and people love it. I mean, when we cover a story like this that's actually true, which we try to only cover the true ones.
Yeah.
And I think we do, because we verify things, but those are the ones that get the best on TikTok. Like we haven't been doing well on TikTok lately, but we got like 28,000 views on a video that you did recently on one of these niche things, like, oh, what we have is not good enough, but maybe we could do this.
Yeah.
That's what they're thinking. And that's going to solve everything, because obviously what we have now is not working, which is not true. I mean, you have to listen to the show. We give you evidence every week that it is working, and the economics and everything are making it go. But the Norwegian River Hydro Dam meme is wrong, mostly. Misinfo for financial gain. This guy, from the account it came from, is posting all kinds of things like this that are, created by AI and not wrong. Snopes even covered it, which I found surprised.
Yeah.
That they had the time and resources, and they said, false! The meme is in circulation, falsely claimed these turbines existed in Norway. However, there used to be an underwater turbine prototype in the country. Further, underwater tidal turbines are currently in operation in Scotland and trying to be deployed in other places of the world. We've talked about that on the show. I don't think it's going to be a huge contribution to the grid, but it's there, and it's more regular less intermittent, perhaps, than other sources. In late June and early July 2025, a rumor began to spread online that Norway had installed marine life-friendly underwater turbines that harness power from ocean currents for energy production. The same image and text appeared on other Facebook posts. Facebook, good place for quality information, including one on the Neil deGrasse Tyson page. Neil, come on. You disappoint me. That had gained 54,000 reactions and 10,000 shares. Of course you think it's real. If he did it, I wonder if he's taken it down. Clues in the image revealed that they had probably generated by artificial intelligence. For example, the turbines did not always count the same number of blades. Some had 3, others had 4. The placement of the blades on each turbine was irregular. That's a thing we're living with now as AI, and it's only going to get better. Running the image through an AI detector, we were able to confirm this was not a real image. Wonder what the AI detector is. I've never used one.
It sounds like it could be a good TV show, AI Detective.
I hope no one sends me through an AI detector. I'm afraid what might come up. Snopes ran several other images posted on the EU Corner Facebook page through the AI detector, confirming each had an AI-generated page. The Google News searches revealed no reputable news outlet reported such turbines off the coast of Norway. For this reason, we deemed the rumor false. However, though, as we've said on the show, they say tidal turbines are friendly to sea life, are not science fiction. In 2003, the prototype of a 3-bladed underwater turbine was installed in the channel near the northernmost tip of Norway, and it began producing energy in 2004, but was removed in 2012. An environmental audit revealed that the impact on sea life had been minimal. It just doesn't seem maybe economical to do it as greatly. There's not a big incentive if you have alternatives, such as solar batteries, winded batteries. This led to the installation of 3 more turbines in the Pentland Firth, a strait in the north of Scotland. And further, the Scotland-based company Nova Innovation developed such turbines and began to install them in 2016 off the Shetland Islands. According to a CNN video report, this is the world's first offshore tidal array of F turbines. And yeah, you can look that up in Snopes if you want. Nova Innovation's turbines do not look like the ones in the image and had been circulating they had not looked like the ones in the image that had been circulating around. They are different. So they had only 2 blades rather than the 3 or 4 blades supposed by the Norwegian turbine. A listener in BC a couple of years ago invited me to see a river diversion water dam that he was in charge of, BC Hydro, and that didn't pan out. I'm coming back. If you're listening, contact me. They're also known for They are also known as run-of-river facility, diverts a portion of a river's flow, often through a canal or penstock, to generate electricity using turbines and generators. Unlike traditional hydroelectric dams that create large reservoirs, diversion dams typically have limited or no storage capacity and primarily use the river's natural flow for power generation. And the ones that may go into rivers are not going to be completely disruptive.
Yeah.
They will disrupt some things like fish, a little, just less if they do work.
Yeah, so this shows that there is an appetite out there for, climate positive content. People want to believe in, climate solutions, and there's lots of solutions. It's just unfortunate now you can type these kinds of things into an AI generator and generate fake clips because it's more work to do what we do, which is actually try and research things and try and see if they're true rather than just, generating a clip.
But I know from our video stats that that's what people like. They love new things. Then that gets them to react and click. And it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate that they don't accept the reality of things, of what is actually important and what is actually happening. And we have stories every week. We'll have them this week about how the progression of just plain old solar and plain old batteries is monopolizing, new power generation in the world. And it's working.
Yeah.
There's no need. It's nice to have some base load, but with this taking off, niche things don't always, take off themselves.
Yeah.
You want to get to some listener mail?
Yeah, let's dip into that mailbag. So shout out to our friend Ian, who sent us this nice clip that was found on a Reddit post. And I thought it was just incredibly cool. It's a ferry in Norway, again, getting plugged in. I'd never seen one of these in operation before. And it just drops from a sort of a crane. And it really just looks like a giant electrical plug.
It does. It does. It's hard to, you get the proportions of everything kind of mixed up. It looks kind of fake almost, but it is a giant plug that lowers down.
It kind of looked like AI, to be frank. But I think the AI version would have been somehow cleaner. Like this still seemed a bit clunky where the cord kind of drops down and it hits this kind of slanted piece of metal and that sort of diverts it into the plug somehow.
I thought it was magnetic. It looked magnetic.
I assume it's also magnetic, but there was a slanted piece of metal that seemed to be directing it into its place.
So the point is that it would take a lot of power to recharge a ferry because it would be a lot of battery. So it'd be a big cable. So you'd have a big, it's not like charging a car. You'd have this big, thick thing that a crane has to drop down and clunk, plugs it in every time it docks.
But yeah, this is Norway. They have many of these such ferries. Electric ferries are becoming more common, and Norway is doing well in this sort of thing. But yeah, thanks, Ian, for passing that along. That was a cool clip.
Yeah, we love to hear from our listeners. As you know, contact us by email, cleanenergyshow@gmail.com. Anything that's on your mind, we'd love to hear from you. You can also leave us a voicemail online at speakpipe.com/cleanenergyshow. Join the conversation on our Patreon page and get access to additional content where I will be posting dispatches from my EV trip, mostly public. You don't have to even sign up for an account. Just go there and you can see how it's going, especially if you're curious about buying an EV. You don't have one yet and wonder what it's like on a road trip, because I have a slow charging, modestly ranged car, and everything else that's out there usually is easier than what I'm doing. So you can check that out. If you join our Patreon today as a paying member, you'll get access to our exclusive Patreon episodes. That'll be our first episode back from vacation. Will probably be our Patreon episode around the 18th. And you can now support us for as little as $1 a month in U.S. money. And you get ad-free episodes, exclusive access to our Discord server, discounts at our merch store, early access to our episodes before the public, and behind-the-scenes material and private updates. Thank you credits on our video podcast, which is returning to the fall, and shout-outs once a month on our audio podcast for certain levels. Thank you to all who support our show. Coming up next, the lightning round.
Attention, everyone. Wayfair's Black Friday preview sale is here early. Right now, get up to 70% off everything you need for the season ahead. Save on furniture and bedding, cookware and holiday decor, and tons more. Now's the time to score big on finds to feast, get festive, and get comfortable all season long. Plus, enjoy fast and easy shipping with delivery in time for the holidays. Save up to 70% off early Black Friday deals. Shop now at wayfair.com.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
It's time for the lightning round.
The lightning round is a fast-paced look at the latest headlines in climate, clean energy, and transportation.
India has reached the Paris target of 50% non-fossil fuel power capacity 5 years early.
Wow.
Good for India. Sometimes we have questions about India. How committed are they, and how well are they going to do? Are they going to match China in some ways? Because China has really taken off. Indonesia to go 100% renewables by 2035 instead of 2040. Again, 2 examples of 5 years early, 5 years moving up. Why? Because you can, people. BYD has launched its 7th ship, something we've talked about on the show. Now we're up to 7.
Yeah, weren't we just talking about their first one?
Yes. Well, their car company is building their own ships because why not? Talk about your vertical integration. That's what they're doing, and that's why BYD is so cheap. And because I've done that, the BYD Seal, this is one of their cars, one of their most popular cars. This is the BYD Seal 6 DM-1 variant. Are you sitting down? You're sitting down.
Yeah.
A 2,000-kilometer range for the equivalent of $15,340 inside China.
Now, that's probably the WLTP rating for range, which tends to be...
so it's only 1,500 kilometers.
So it's only 1,500 probably, yes.
In reality.
Yeah.
That's insane. And it's unnecessary. Why? Why? It's a big battery.
Yeah.
You have to carry the thing around. Nobody needs to go 2,000 kilometers in a day in one. No. I mean, I can't even think of a use case scenario. It'd be good for trucks.
Well, and for robo-taxis as well, so you don't have to stop and charge.
Yeah, but they're not doing $2,000 in a day. They would have to 2,000 kilometers?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Germany, EVs take a 28.4% market share. That is the share of new vehicles that are EVs that are sold. That's up from just 19.8% year on year. So we've gone from 19.8. That's a pretty rapid increase of adoption in Germany.
Yeah,
I would say. And in the UK, EVs take a 35.9, almost 36% share, up from 28. It's a little bit slower pickup, but it's still pretty good. And yeah, that's pretty high proportion. It's more than a third now of cars have plugs.
And I definitely saw a lot of EVs when I was in London just a few weeks ago.
From the 2026 season and beyond, Formula One Racing is introducing new regulations that will feature environmentally friendly cars with engines that have a near 50-50 split between electric and internal combustion power and use fully sustainable fuels. Interesting that the F1 feels its need to clean up its act on climate change if it wants to stay relevant, but yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting because, of course, that's just, a handful of race cars going around a track. It's not necessarily as important as the millions of cars we have on the road, but good on F1 for doing something.
I've got another Chinese long-range car story. Again, everyone, sit down. Huawei patents a file for an EV battery with an 1,800-mile range or 2,900 kilometers. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. There's no use case for that. What are you doing? I mean, you might as well put that in an airplane and go across country because I don't get it.
Yeah.
Support for 500-mile California bullet train surges from 10% to 67% of voters. So they are in favor of that bullet train. What does it go? Is it L.A. area to
Las Vegas? I think that was the plan. We talked about it a while ago, but yeah, I'm not sure where it's at right now.
Going to take the bullet to Vegas and put all my money on red. People are going to say that. Australia had a ridiculous surge in battery storage installations with 11,536 grid batteries. These are not AA batteries, Brian.
Yeah.
These are big-ass container batteries. 11,500 grid batteries installed since July 1st of this year.
That's,
in other words, 4-ish weeks.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's yeah. And no, we need river turbines. We need river turbines. The rest of it's not working. Chinese media outlet Dongshidi closed down a real highway for a multi-day test of 36 different car driver assistance systems in complicated, dangerous real-world driving situations. I'm surprised they could do that in China, and most of these vehicles actually came up severely lacking. So maybe automated driving isn't as good as they we think it is. It isn't as advanced as we think it is sometimes. But Tesla actually escaped the tests relatively unscathed. So there's a lot of doubt about Tesla's ability to do this. But they did really well. And finally, this week, Greenpeace, in the most significant climate law decision ever issued, the top world court rules that nations which fail to curb fossil fuels could be ordered to pay reparations, say countries legally obligated to curb emissions, protect climate. Italy's highest court has ruled that a lawsuit brought by climate activists against Italian energy company Eni and its government shareholders can go ahead. And what Greenpeace said on Tuesday was a victory for efforts to pursue climate justice in Italy. In an ordinance released on Monday, the Court of Cassation rejected the company's motions to dismiss the lawsuit on jurisdictional grounds and ordered the case be heard on its merits by a Rome tribunal. And he said that it was greatly satisfied with the decision, and it had expected that the Rome court would ultimately dismantle the climate activist claims. Well, in 2023, Greenpeace environmental group Recommon and a dozen Italian citizens had sued Eni and its two main government shareholders, the Italian Finance Ministry and Development Bank, seeking damages for what they said were the effects of climate change. So we've got two climate law stories in one mini episode.
Yes, we love climate lawsuits. They don't always work out, but this is a great way to further the cause. All right, that's our show for this week. You can contact us, cleanenergyshow@gmail.com. Around social media, we are Clean Energy Pod. And of course, that Patreon we love to talk about, patreon.com/cleanenergypod. And don't forget the merch store. And don't forget, hit the subscribe or follow button on your app to get new podcasts every week.
Go get a hat in the merch store now to keep that sun out of your eyes.
Yes.
Thank you to all our Clean Club members, especially a shout out to our Clean Club executive members, Green Bastard, Brett Routley. Thank you all for supporting climate positive content. We'll see you again in 7 days.
See you next week.
Piloting today's giant oil tankers is a big responsibility. And that's why here at Hexagon's Tanker Captain Training School, future captains go through a rigorous instruction program. Then, through a complicated elimination process, we weed out those less qualified for the day-to-day operation of a 500,000-ton single-hulled supertanker. Only the best will be allowed to take command of what is essentially a floating ecological time bomb.